and Jalen's 2013 NBA Preview.
The Oklahoma City fans are mad at me. They think I bring up the James Harden trade too much, Jalen. Can you bring up that trade enough?
James Harden is the best shooting guard potentially in the NBA, and he's playing for another team.
Let's look at the fan base mindset of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I wonder if it's going to play into this James Harden trade.
Everybody's trying to tell me what is right for me.
Yeah.
This is Hall & Oates, who used to be really good. Get down, Oates.
I'm just disappointed in particular in disco, R&B, and rap that we don't get the enjoyment of groups that we used to get.
And harmony.
I know money and opportunity comes into play and budgets, but the quality of projects.
Hold on, big moment here.
What you think? Yeah.
James Harden is gone. He's gone.
Oh yeah, and they rocking the bell bottoms for sure.
This is from 1976. We have to go way back. What went wrong, Jalen?
Gotta get a youngster some culture, that's all.
What went wrong? Why didn't they keep James Harden?
Planning.
Because they were cheap asses.
How about this? Let's take it a step further to go with the term you just mentioned. They've done so well drafting players that it's actually been to their detriment.
You think they got a little arrogant?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, we'll replace James Harden.
We're replacing with Lamb. We'll get another one.
Yeah.
With Perry Jones III.
Or we'll get Kevin Martin's offense for a year. That'll replace Harden. And then long term, we'll put in Lamb and we'll get. I don't think they knew James Harden was going to be this good. I think that was another problem. I think they came off that finals against Miami, and they're like, let's sell high on Harden right now.
We disagree.
You think they knew he was going to be that good?
They knew he was that good because they gave him the basketball, in particular in the fourth quarter, and he led the entire NBA in free throws made in the fourth quarter. They're giving him the go-to shine.
Well, if you know he's that good, why don't you just amnesty Perkins?
I agree. That would have been something that I would have done. But
I don't think you trade somebody when you know they're that good. I think they just decided we're going to ride with Durant, Westbrook, and trust our GM.
But also they committed to a style of play with Perkins, more importantly. You have Bynum in the West. This is a copycat league. So the Lakers won a couple of championships. They have Bynum down low. You got Marc Gasol. You got the bigs with the Clippers. And all of a sudden you feel like, I need a big to play against these guys. I would have liked the lineup to keep Jeff Green and then figure out what you was going to do with the big slot. I would not have done that deal initially. So it's not like hindsight's 2020. I was saying this then.
Let's see what they did last summer. I can tell you this much: you're not going to be impressed. They acquired the worst trade of the century title. I didn't realize that. They lost Kevin Martin, who was 14.5 points a game, something like that, and 2 big threes a game, 40% threes. They did not really add anybody. They drafted Steven Adams with that lottery pick from the Harden trade.
He's actually going to be a productive player.
Yeah, I liked him in the preseason. Maybe he'll be one of those energy dudes off the bench who helps them. I'd rather have James Harden. So they are like about 50 grand under the luxury tax, so they can't add anybody.
I just think their window is closing.
I do too. Let's look at their rotation, and you'll see why Jalen feels that way. Perkins was probably one of the 5 worst starters on any playoff team last year. And now he's back, and he's slower and more cumbersome than ever. Ibaka, as soon as Westbrook went down in the playoffs, I thought a big spotlight went on him, and I
got love for Ibaka. He was hollering at Kerry Hilson. Like that about you, young fella.
Yeah, but didn't you want to see a little bit more from him after Westbrook got hurt?
I did, but
I think he is what he is. He's an awesome complimentary player.
But he continues to improve.
True.
He's making threes. You talked about his mid-range game.
Great mid-range game.
He leads the league in blocks, or amongst the league leaders around 3.
A little bit overrated defensively.
But I think what you ask him for, he totally exceeds it.
The thing is, if you keep Harden, I hate to keep bringing this up, but it was the most important trade of this century probably, so we have to. If Ibaka's your 4th best player, you're in incredible shape.
Yes.
If you have 3 of the best 12 players in the league and then Ibaka is your 4th best player, Jalen, you could have come back.
I agree.
You could have been that
Just get
SG.
better with time.
Well, I'm really worried about the bench. We liked Reggie Jackson a little bit last year. Lamb is just a blank slate. Nobody knows anything. And if he stinks, I don't know where they get outside shooting. Where do you get outside shooting if he stinks? We forgot to mention Westbrook's out for at least 6 weeks.
And for the fans, we've purposely mentioned every name on the roster except Iceberg Slim, shooting trays from the suburbs.
We're going to get to him. Let's look at Zach Lowe's big question because it ties into this. Zach Lowe wants to know who's the next man up. Let's say you get 55 points a game from Durant and Westbrook. I still need to get to 100, 105.
That's the issue.
Where am I getting the rest of my points? Ibaka maybe gets me 14. If Jeremy Lamb isn't good, make a trade. And we discussed there's some trade possibilities for them. The team would have to take Perkins. They have some young assets. They have Dallas's first-round pick this year. They have their own first-round pick. They could try to make a move and get that guy. You mentioned in the Houston preview that we did that you thought there was a really good chance that Durant leaves at the end of his contract and goes to Houston. If you're Oklahoma City, do you start to feel pressure down the road to try to do right by KD right now?
Your job as an organization and as front office management is to forecast. And if you're not in Minnesota's front office, for example, forecasting what you're going to do with Kevin Love because he's probably going to leave, then you would be considered not doing your job. It's the same thing in OKC. It was a numbers game for James Harden. This is where the collective bargaining really hurts teams and players they develop. Because I was on the sideline, I'm sure, just like the Houston Rockets were thinking, they don't want to go over the luxury tax, so therefore they're not going to pay him the max. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start wooing them early and let them know I got the money.
Yep.
And before you know it, they have to trade him to me because is he going to sign for 55 when he can sign for 80?
So you think there's a lot of anonymous texting?
Absolutely.
A lot of people running into somebody at a club or a charity function. Hey, man, we got some cap space coming up. We'd love to have you.
Correct. And, that's just the nature of the business. So you have to forecast what's next for Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, behind LeBron James, to me, is the second best player in the league. I don't care who else you want to talk about right now.
I would say it's not even an argument.
50, 40, 90 guy since Larry Legend has scored 28. Enough said. Okay, Russell Westbrook is a top 10 player. Whether people want to give him his love or not.
If he's healthy.
This has been an all-NBA guard.
I go top 12.
But he's still an all-NBA first or second team guard. One of the most explosive players at his position along with Derrick Rose that we've seen.
Assuming he doesn't walk with a limp.
Correct. So I think that in itself has a shelf life that we've made this sacrifice to be in Oklahoma City. It's not a vacation destination. These still two young players.
Right. They didn't get drafted to the Army.
Correct.
They can leave at the end of their contract.
Correct. So what I see is going to happen is they're going to do the best they can to try to bring a championship to Oklahoma City like they're doing right now.
Like LeBron in Cleveland.
Correct.
Here's an analogy I would go with. So this whole small market, we don't want to go over the tax we're worried about. First of all, the league's never been in better shape, ever. All these franchises, if Clay Bennett right now wanted to sell Oklahoma City back to Seattle, to the Seattle group that tried to steal the Kings,
he could get double.
They would get like $1.2 billion for that team. All these franchise values have gone up. They assess the Warriors are worth $800 million now. They paid, I think, $450, something like that. The Kings, they assessed at $550. So Oklahoma City can do this whole thing about, we don't want to pay the tax. But the bottom line is, if you can't afford the team, sell it. Sell it to somebody who doesn't give a crap about the tax. I guarantee Vivek Ranadive wouldn't care about the freaking tax if he had Kevin Durant.
Are you not entertained?
And there's probably 25 billionaires right now who wouldn't care. So I think what they did is a disservice to their fans and a disservice to Durant and Westbrook, because when you're that close to winning a title year after year, it's okay if you lose $5-6 million.
That's why I'm going to close my eyes and say this, because I don't want people in OKC to think Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook aren't going to give their all over the next couple of years. But I do see a scenario when their next contracts that Russell may be in Los Angeles with Kevin Love and Kevin Durant may be in Houston with James Harden and Dwight Howard.
Right. Here's the other thing with Durant that I don't think people realize. He's so much more competitive than I think people give him credit for. And I think it bugs the shit out of him that he's LeBron's runner-up. He's been the runner-up his whole career. He's always number 2. He's never won the MVP. He's been second, 3 times? Made the finals, goes against LeBron, they lose in 5. He's never had a moment where it's been his moment. And I think he's going to get fed up eventually.
What probably bugs him more is that the teams around them have gotten better on paper, and this team has not.
And don't care about the tax. How many teams have won the title without paying the tax?
None.
You know the answer? Zero.
I know
You're
the
not
answer.
doing it. And what happens when you don't want to pay the tax? You end up with Ryan Gomes and Derek Fisher. And you end up with hoping Jeremy Lamb is going to be a three-point shooter for you when you don't even know if he's a basketball player.
And Cephalosha is underpaid.
And he's going to leave.
And he's going to leave.
And, you know, the biggest mistake they made, if they were going to trade Harden, I think they should have put Perkins in the deal.
Of course.
And I don't know why they did. And I think Houston takes Perkins 100 times out of 100.
You have to if you're going to get James Harden. And we love Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. We want to see them playing for championships.
They should have been in the finals every year this decade.
Remember us saying that, wow, this is going to be a team that's here for the next 7 to 10 years.
Oh, this is going to be a potential dynasty. We're going to play a little game show here for Jalen. It's called Meet the Guys Who Are Going to Get Playoff Minutes for Oklahoma City. I want to see how many of these guys you can recognize, Jalen. All right, who's that?
Jeremy Lamb.
All right, you're 1 for 1.
Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson, 2 for 2. Took a second.
I don't know that gentleman.
That's Steven Adams. That's your New Zealand.
Oh, God, he's a rookie. Of course I don't know him.
Okay, who's next?
I don't know that gentleman either.
That's Andre Roberson. He was the number 26 pick in the draft. He might play this year, too. Who's
Okay,
next?
and considering I covered the draft, it'd probably be good to know him, huh?
Who's that? You know who that is?
I do know him. They need him the ball this year.
But who
Perry
puts his
Jones
name?
III.
All right, last but not least. Oh,
Yeah, I'm on the squad.
Yeah, you're top
I'm
man.
open, KD.
If Derek Fisher's getting the call, Jalen's ready.
Yes.
He's ready.
Keep getting them checks, Fish.
You
Fish probably looked down at the contract like, y'all want me to play? Like,
we should do
is
that.
that in this?
We should do that on NBA Countdown this year. We should have a keep getting those checks
He's
segment.
just getting them checks.
Just whipping checks
Right.
at somebody. Let's see what Kirk Goldsberry had to say about the Thunder. Oh. Well, you're not going to believe it, but Kevin Durant has an insane amount of red.
Wow.
So if you're not familiar with these shot charts, red is good.
This is clearly the best one we've seen, and it's not even close.
Well, Stephen Curry was good from like 3, but this is like, oh my God. These first 6 weeks are going to be fascinating for Durant. The triangle actually brings this up. Their favorite thing about Oklahoma City is Kevin Durant may not crack a smile all year long. Angry KD is taking on the world. So this first 6 weeks, it's just going to be him. No Westbrook again. 4 games a week. If you're in a fantasy league, not that he wouldn't be one of the top 2 highest paid guys in the league, but this is the year for the giant KD season. This could be like a 35 a game for the first 2 months.
Mark this down. Kevin Durant, between now and January, is going to average at least 38 points.
You think higher than 35?
It's going to be the highest average we've seen from anyone since Michael Jordan.
How many smiles?
He's not going to do a lot of smiling. That's what's going to allow him to get 38 because he's going to be so locked in. There's no spot on the floor or there's no situation during the game that he hasn't played out, regardless of the competition. So this year without Russell, 38.
Clairvoyant Bill is getting a weird vibe about this Oklahoma City season. He feels an angry Kevin Durant. He feels a general frustration with the new guys. Here's a good example. Tom Brady with this current Patriots team. Took a little less money to stay. His tight end's in jail. The other one didn't come back until recently. He's got rookie receivers. Guys aren't going the places he wants them to go. His defense isn't that good. He's just mad all the time. You can see it.
He lost a defensive player at every level.
Yeah.
The best defensive player.
He lost the
at
3
each
best
level.
defensive guys on his team. And he's pissed off. And I think Clairvoyant Bill believes that that is the vibe that Kevin Durant's going to give. And I think Oklahoma City's going to be looking at this, like we discussed earlier, and say, uh-oh, we got to make KD happy. We can't mess with this. This is our dude. Like, this is going in a bad direction. Clairvoyant Bill thinks they're a panic trade waiting to happen. Clairvoyant Bill actually thinks Westbrook and Durant will be bonded by this situation, and we don't have to worry about a video situation like this.
You know I don't take my work too seriously.
That's right.
That's Durant.
It's just business.
That's Westbrook. I'm not worried about this ending like it did with Stringer and Avon with these two anymore.
Not at all.
I was worried about it 2 years ago. I was.
Well, get on with it, motherfucker.
I think there was a time during that finals in 2012 when Westbrook was taking so much shit from everybody.
He didn't deserve that.
And he didn't. And it became a Durant's the good son and Westbrook's the bad son. And I think the seeds are being planted for that to go in a bad direction, but I think they're okay now. I really do. Supposedly, this is Perkins' one value to the team. He really helps out managing that relationship.
And the little media trick that normally happens is that's all about personal preference for the media. It has nothing to do with the individuals.
Right.
So because the media feels like it likes Kevin Durant more than Russell Westbrook, they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, who is this guy taking all of the shots from our guy KD? He's blocking KD's shine. How did he block his shine? He led the league in scoring twice.
You know what hurt Westbrook, though? That playoffs, you had both studio shows killed him. Magic killed Westbrook, and then Barkley and Kenny got really mad that one game when Westbrook took like 30 shots in the playoff game. And that's what started the heat more than anything. And I think he was mad about it.
He should be.
That led to one of the best games of his career, I think Game 4, I'm going to say, in the finals. But I think that affected him. I think he was kind of like, wow, I can't win. I have to take all these shots. Look at the rest of our team.
They had a game where Kevin Durant had 50 and Russell Westbrook had 40.
That's ridiculous.
If this was the 70s or the 80s, we would celebrate that.
Right.
Some of the great scores that this league is seeing, Gervin, David Thompson, Run TMC, all of these trios that we applauded for their scoring, that's what we're getting from these two guys. They're taking turns putting up numbers on teams on a nightly basis.
Do you think Harden ever gets to where he got if he stayed on that team?
He does.
You think he does?
Because his game is different as a scorer.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is a catch-shoot player, a typical small forward, a second recipient in a half-court offense of a pass. Then he operates where he's comfortable. James Harden is an initiator of pick and roll, push it off fast breaks, push it off steals. And Russell Westbrook can do both because he's a terrific athlete. He can play with or without the ball, same as Harden, same as KD. So they could find a way to make that dynamic work, and that's why we wanted to see it happen so bad, and that's why we continue to talk about it.
And we also, after talking to those guys, Harden seemed really hurt by the trade still. And he was like, those guys are my brothers. Like, he was like, I was lonely in Houston for that first year. I was watching their box scores, and I felt like I was part of the team.
And hence KD coming to the aid of James Harden by saying, hey, I seen that top 10 ranking. I feel like James
really
Harden.
sticking up for him.
I feel like Harden should be in that top 10.
Wow.
And that's him watching a great player like Wade, who has 3 championships, get a chance to play with a 4-time MVP like LeBron James.
It's time for a very somber edition of Champagne and Campaigning.
Give the people
What they want.
what they
Give
want.
the people what they want in Oklahoma City.
Yay. So, what do you do in Oklahoma City?
I don't know.
I got a chance to go there when the Hornets was there and Chris Paul was on the team. And you know what I did? Got some rest.
You slept in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Wow, this is more somber than I thought.
Yes, I actually got some rest. Because I thought there may be a chance I get stuck guarding Chris Paul, and I didn't want to get embarrassed.
Maybe I'd hold this up instead of water.
Exactly. No, you know what we need?
Nice people in Oklahoma City, though.
Yeah, great fan base.
Really? No, seriously.
Yeah, they do.
I spent some time there. I like the people. They're very nice.
Yeah.
Good food.
Good food.
Good food.
Probably closes at 9:30.
Haunted hotel. I stayed in the haunted hotel. Well, it's not hard to figure out what Miami's vice is with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think it starts with the initials KD. They have the one player in the league who could stare LeBron down in a series and either play him to a standstill or beat him outright.
I say Russell Westbrook.
Westbrook, to me, we didn't probably talk about it enough. Is he going to be all right? Is the knee going to be 100%? Is he going to have the same confidence? I think the thing we all loved about Westbrook the most was his recklessness. And he was just top 5 athlete in basketball and just balls to the wall all the time. Does he keep that if he's worried about this?
And now that you point at that knee, I got to point something out. After spending quality time with Kevin McHale in the Houston Rockets, Indiana Pacers, and Larry Bird, it gave me a newfound respect. Not that I didn't respect my elders in this game of the NBA, but of how the elders gave so much of their bodies to this game.
The physical toll.
The physical toll of Kevin McHale playing in Boston with a surgically repaired foot, limping up and down the floor, and now still having some effects these days. Seeing Larry Bird getting up and down on the plane with 10 hours to
He'd
Taiwan.
have to stand up, right?
6 hours to Seattle. And now the medicine, the hyperbaric chambers, all of the things that these athletes have now to help with their recovery, to help them put themselves in a position to be competitive every night. It made me think about Derrick Rose made a very smart decision not to come back last year. And I really like how OKC is handling the Russell Westbrook thing. When he initially got injured, he's out for the playoffs. Now, on the surface, a lot of people look at a meniscus injury and say, he may could come back in 3 weeks. They didn't say, hey, if we make it to the Western Conference Finals, maybe if we make it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, who knows? They put the onus on the player.
Correct.
Well, he might be back if.
But this is what makes that smart. They never gave a timetable. He needed to get another scope. Now that second scope has set him back into December. So they've never led us or misled us, and he has never misled us to anything except coming back to where he's 110%. Smart play, Russell.
My fear with this Oklahoma City team is that this is a Durant career year, and it's going to be wasted on a team where Westbrook's not healthy for half the year and a bunch of other guys trying to feel their way out. And then as the kicker, his old buddy Harden, oh no, Hollow Notes are back.
Up in the morning, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. I'm on as a toothbrush shining in the stands, in the stand, in the stand.
Oh no.
Facing looking at a young girl. Now I can see love taking her toll on me.
Yeah.
Well, this is ridiculous. Two guys dressed like a show from the 1980s watching a clip from the 1970s. I hope you enjoyed Bill and Jalen's NBA preview. Our next team coming up, number 5. And they are a team from LA, but not the Lakers. Stay tuned.